Hello, my name is Bethany, and today I want to talk about liberty and freedom. I'll be honest, before this assignment, to me they were synonymous, interchangeable. I don't know, they were just, I was free, I had liberty, whatever, you know. I just thought how I thought, and, I had the freedom to think that way because we had liberties. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that's just how I thought about it. Whatever, it didn't matter to me because I had freedom, I had liberties, and it worked. But after doing the research for this assignment and after, doing some studying, I have come to my own definition based off of the articles that I read about liberty and freedom. And I have found that liberty is my rights in society where freedom are my rights as a person, as an individual. And the reason why I came to this conclusion is because when I was reading some of these articles, for instance, one is by J.W. Cook, and it's called Jefferson and Liberty, and it's where he takes quotes from Jefferson, and he writes out what Jefferson was saying liberty was. And in this, he says that, and he's quoting Jefferson, and he says, men were also born with natural rights necessary for moral and intellectual achievement, the most important of which were individual liberty and social freedom. More specifically, he says, Jefferson had in mind three essential liberties: freedom of thought, freedom of tyrannical political authority, and freedom in choosing and applying one's livelihood. Now, this is the one that really made me understand the difference between liberty and freedom. Liberty was attached to our society. And in our society, we have the freedom to think how we want to think. We have the freedom to get rid of tyrannical politicians, and we have the right as humans in our society because it's written to give us the right to get rid of the politicians we don't like. We have to go out and vote, and it is a liberty because we are not run by a tyrant. We are not run by a king or queen that says, hey, I'm stuck, you're stuck with me because you can't get rid of me. We have a right. They put that as in a society liberty because we can choose. As a society, we're able to choose who we want in our government officials. As freedom, though, we have the freedom to dress the way we want to dress, to say what we want to say, do basically what we want to do. And yes, there are laws that are in place that may stop us from doing everything we want to do. And that is a good thing, because not everything we want to do is right. Murdering? Stealing? No, not so much. Destroying public property, private property, not your property? So those things and those laws are put in as a protection. This is not a law. I think it should be because it's part of protection, but to kind of understand where we have the rights and stuff, for instance, on a hairdryer, it says, do not blow dry your hair in the shower. There's a reason. They are trying to protect us, just like the laws are trying to protect us from doing something we shouldn't be doing. But we have a freedom and a right to take that hairdryer into the shower. We shouldn't, but we can. That is our freedom. And that's kind of like what the laws do for us. We have laws that say, like I said, don't destroy public property. And there's a reason. Or don't destroy property in general, because there's a reason. It is to protect us, and it's to protect those who we might do harm to, or the property that we might do harm to. We can choose, because we are free individuals, to break that law, to destroy whatever. We shouldn't, though. Another article that I read, and this one I found kind of interesting, and it was written by B.N. Chicherin, and he was a Russian political philosopher from the 1800s, and he was like the go-to, top of the line, philosophical, political guy. If you had issues with politics and philosophy, that was the guy you went to during that time. But this is what he said. Thus, the fundamental mark of human society, the characteristic which profoundly divides the animal kingdom from the kingdom of the spirit, is liberty. We human beings fashion our own law and choose whether or not to observe this law. I think that's brilliant. I mean, that is one of the greatest examples of what liberty is. We make laws, but then we can break those laws. We have the liberty. I mean, we have, of course, if we, break something, we have to, have the penalty for it, go to jail, pay a fine, whatever. We still have that we have to deal with. But individually, we have freedoms to be able to choose what we do. Another of the articles I read, and the reason why I chose these articles is because even though they were written by men, say in the 1800s, forgive me, Thomas Jefferson in, the 1776, up to the 1800s. He wrote these, but they still affect us today because we are still involved with liberty today, and we still have our freedoms today. Now, Chicherin was talking about animals, the difference between animals and humanity, but it's still the same. Animals still have to live by their instincts. They don't make laws. They don't get the chance or choice to break laws. Wolves know how to hunt, and they're always going to hunt. Gophers are always going to dig in the dirt, and they can't decide one day, I'm not going to dig in the dirt, I'm going to, be a beaver. They're close, but they're not the same. So we have these things that even though were written at the beginning, for American Western civilization and the later Western civilization for Russia, the later civilization, for Russia, they still apply today. Another article that I read said, "We are free, we think, only when we can choose among courses of action that are truly open to us." Now, this has to do with the freedom of choosing, and the thing that this professor was bringing in, she's a professor, Hilary Bach is a professor at Johns Hopkins, and she got her PhD at Harvard. She got her BA at Princeton, so she's pretty smart, and her specialty is in free will and ethics. But what she was saying, and after this, they go into detail about what courses we have to choose from, and people argue about we don't always have the same course of action that we can take, so are we really free, whatever. But the fact that we have the right to choose makes us free. That's what she was kind of saying. We are free because we can choose. It doesn't matter if the options we have to choose are out of 2 or out of 37. We can still choose. And I think later on we have more rights because our liberties were set up in such a way that no matter how the laws changed or what they stated, we still have the right to choose. We still have that freedom and option because our liberties make it so. Our government made it so. We can always change something if we don't like it because we have that freedom. And I just thought this whole thing was kind of neat how even though for us, our founding fathers set it up for their time period, it still helps us today, even, 200 and so years after the fact. It's still the fact we still have our liberties and we still have our freedom. I am still able to think how I want to think. I'm still able to choose the clothes I want to wear. I'm still able to wear makeup if I want to, cut my hair, let it grow, whatever. I have that right to choose for my person. I have liberties in society because I can freedom of speech, and I can also vote in who I want to vote in, vote out who I want to vote out. I can choose to break laws. I can choose someday to make laws. Who knows? But I have that right and I have that freedom because of the liberties that were set up by our founding fathers. And I just thought that was kind of neat. I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you.